Hello, everybody. My name is Dee, and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today, I thought I would give you a reading update. It is the middle of the week again. As I said last week, if you watched it all, that I won't always be able to film on Fridays, at least for the next few months. Just, work schedule and things just don't give me as much flexibility on Fridays as I had in previous years. So yeah, I thought, whenever I get a chance to film, I'm just going to film. And today I have an opportunity. So, yeah, I've read quite a few things in the past couple weeks, and I did change my TBR slightly. So I will repeat a couple of things that I was talking about last time as well. So I just finished a book, or rather, I sort of DNF'd a book called The Orchid House by Lucinda Riley. I was I was doing this as part of a group buddy read with Sean of On the Stoop, Mel of Mel's Bookland Adventures, Cheryl of Sierra Flames Fan, and Candace of Beacon Hill Books. And this book, we all kind of decided to DNF it a little more than halfway through. It was really poorly written. The interaction between the characters was awkward and creepy at times and really just strange. Nothing seemed natural about it. And I think the author didn't have an idea of what type of book she wanted to write. Because when the book started out, with a little bit of, magic in it. It started out with a fairy tale about a mysterious black orchid that exists. And if you find this black orchid, it's supposed to lead you to your true love. And then it's sort of, after about a tenth of the way through, it never mentions that again. And then it sort of forced these relationships. It turned into a romance, but not a well-written romance at all, between several couples. It was supposed to be also part historical fiction, and it was. It did go back in time into the 1930s. This took place in England. But instead of talking about the historical the historical context around that time period, it just, again, moved into a romance, and a poorly written one. Now, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that romance is one of the many genres that I love, but this was just not that. This was just very strange, and yeah, it didn't wind up being anything that we thought it was going to be. And for me, I did skim the rest of the book just to see if it would get better or what have you, and it just doesn't. So I know how the book ends, but I really stopped reading the book a little more than halfway through. So I gave that book 2 stars. And because I think I did read enough of it to rate it, and it was just, yeah, 2 stars. So that's unfortunate. It was the first really, bad book that I read that so far this year, and it's just the beginning of the year. So yeah, some books are, you never know until you give it a try, and I gave it a try. So yeah. Also, I did finish the final book, so I finished all 7 books in the Throne of Glass series. I really liked the last book, I have to say. I really love the whole series as a whole, but I think that it really wrapped up well. And I wound up rating it 4 stars. That last book, Kingdom of Ash, it was called, was 1,000 pages. Oh my God, Sarah J. Maas can write a long book. So it was over. No, it wasn't over. It was just a smidge under 1,000 pages, and so it took me like a couple of weeks to read it, and it was just fabulous. I don't want to really give you any more information on that book because it is the last book in a series. So if you haven't read any of the previous books, anything that I say about the book is going to be a spoiler. So I'll just say, without spoiling anything, that, as with her previous books, it did start off where the previous book ended off of. So they're really good at, not a lot of time passes between each book. And yeah, and it's the finale, so lots of things happen. The first book that I'll talk about is a nonfiction book, and it's called The Nature Fix. I picked this up on a whim just because a couple of my book friends, specifically Sean and Candace, they love really nature books. Anything having to do with nature, they're really interested in that kind of subject. And listening to them for so long, just kind of inspired me to pick up a nature book. So this is really a simple book. It's very short, under 300 pages. And it's just all about how nature really has an impact on our brains and our happiness. And, it talks about the science behind it and the reasoning of why, how our brains can be seriously impacted without, being outside, basically. I really find it interesting. Parts of it are a little bit dry, but parts of it are really more engaging for me. Really glad I picked it up. I'm almost done. I have about 50 pages left, and it's good because I have to return it to the library in a couple of days. I have it on loan from the library as an ebook, and yeah, it's really, really interesting, and I'm glad I picked it up. The next book that I'll be reading for the rest of this week and probably into the weekend is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I'm sure you all heard of this book. It's a very popular movie. I've never seen the movie because I wanted to read the book before I saw the movie. So this follows a family from Singapore, and specifically a young couple, Nick and Rachel. And when the book starts out, Nick and Rachel have been a couple for quite some time, and they are flying back to Singapore. He's taking her to his to meet his family in Singapore, and also attend a wedding while they're there. And she soon finds out that she really doesn't know a whole lot about his family. And she soon finds out that they are crazy rich, like crazy, crazy rich. Basically, he grew up in a palace. Money is no object. They're like billionaires or something like that. And yeah, and I think it's just a comedy, sort of a comedy of errors. So, but with an all Asian cast, and I find that so interesting. You don't read a whole lot of books um, with a whole Asian cast. So I was really excited about this book even before the movie came out. I've had it on my radar forever. And then when the movie came out, I planned on reading it right away, and I never got around to it. So finally, I'm picking this up. I've only gotten to page 54, so not very far into it at all. And I already love it. It's very well written, very fast paced. So yeah, it's just over 500 pages. So I think it'll just take me a few days to get through this, unless I just fly through it, in a couple of days. Who knows? But yeah, I think it will at least take me a couple of days to read this. But I'm really excited to read more. And finally, the last book that I'll be reading this week, and I'm doing it as part of a buddy read with Cheryl of CR Flames fan, and that is The Lost Queen by Signe Pike, I think is how you say his first name, Signe. I hope I'm saying that right. But this book is it's a fantasy, and it's surrounding the Arthurian legend. So I think it may have some similarities to Mists of Avalon. Now, we are currently 10 chapters in. I don't know how many pages that is. I have it on ebook. This book, not a lot happens so far. I really love it. It's really fast-paced, really engaging, but it's sort of setting up things right now. But I think as we move forward, it may have some similarities to The Mists of Avalon, because The Mists of Avalon is another fantasy novel that I read last year, and it was around the Arthurian legend. So I don't know where Arthur and everybody comes into this book, but so far, It's setting things up, and I really love the characters. It's really well written so far, and it's really it's an easy read. It's easy to read. You know what I mean? You know how you have those books that's just so nicely written, it just flows so nicely, and it's one of those books, at least so far. And yeah, I'm really excited to move forward in that, and I'll let you know more once I finish the book about how it how I felt about it, how it sort of played out. But that's what I have so far. So I'm in the middle of 3 books: The Nature Fix, Crazy Rich Asians, and The Lost Queen. The Lost Queen is going to take us, we're reading about 5 chapters a day. And I think it's going to take us probably into next week before we finish it. I think it's like a 10-day buddy read or something like that. So yeah, because it's over 500 pages as well. And 5 chapters is roughly like 50 pages a day. So yeah, so that's what I'll be doing for this week and into the weekend. And I will see you all very, very soon. Bye.